Very interesting that the Rambam brings up this halacha, right? Because in no other place, this is the only mitzvah that he brings. Like, what do you do with the Ark of the Covenant? So there's a commandment not to just carry it around or put it on an agalah. By the way, the Rambam assumes here that you sometimes have to move the aron from place to place. This whole idea, by the way, I showed you in the book of Jeremiah, it seems very clear. The aron ain't perhaps they shouldn't bring it back. But it was always the case that the aron had staves, and they moved it around a lot. It sometimes had to move place to place. And even when they built the Machon Shilo, it says that Yeshua apparently took the aron with him. They took it out for the Plegash Begiva thing. There was nothing wrong about doing that, and they knew that the aron is meant to be moved. So when it's moved, ein molechinoto lo ala beima. They don't put it on an animal or a cart. Velo ala galot, something with wheels. Remember, in the olden days, if something had wheels, something had to be pulling or pushing. Okay, nowadays we invented engines and motors, but the point is it has to be lofisha shachach David vinisao, okay, ala galot, unsao ala galot. David forgot this halacha. He actually says that he was raising the ark up from its hiding place where it had been for quite a few years, his entire life, basically, the entire time of Shmuel Navi. It had been in hiding, or had been in Geniza, whatever it is. It's guarded, of course, by the Levites. So Nifrat's Peretz Uzzah. Remember Peretz Uzzah. Uzzah and Yachio was his brother. Uzzah thought, stabilize the ark. He touched it and he was killed. Ela mitzvah lo al katef. It is a commandment to carry it on the shoulders. Shneimar ki avodat hakodesh alihem bakatef yisau. That's specifically talking about the Kohathites. Why? It says in the same parsha that I mentioned before, the dedication of the Nesiim, that the Nesiim together brought a few wagons. Eglot tzav, which they don't mean turtle wagons, because tzav doesn't mean, according to many, it doesn't mean a turtle, by the way. What you and I call turtle, like a shelled type lizard creature. And that's not the tzav of the Bible. The tzav of the Bible is a type of lizard without a shell. That's why more exact Hebrew says tzav shiryon, the tzav with a shell, or the armor, that's our turtle, tzav shiryon. But the tzav of the Bible is just another lizard. Okay, that's more common here, though, that we have turtles, even though Yeshuv, my son has a turtle, it's quite nice. Anyways, so it says that Bnei Merari and Bnei Gerishom receive those agalot. Bnei Kahat lo natan, ki avodat hakodesh alihem. The Kohathites, the middle son of Levi, from whom Moses and Aaron were descended, their family was in charge of actually carrying the holy vessels, like the Ark of the Covenant and the menorah. Everything they carried was on their shoulders and staves. And you guys remember? We have to say it so many times. How did they carry the menorah if it didn't have any staves? You remember this? We went over this a few months ago. It says v'samtem alamot. The menorah had its own piece of wood with sticks, handles. The same one depicted in the arch of Titus. The menorah was put on a carrying board, basically, along with other things. There was 2 motot used because not every kli has staves. Like the kior doesn't have staves. So how do they move the kior? A mot. They put it on wood and then they carried it. But everything had to be carried on the shoulders. Gishnosino to al katef, nosin panim keneged panim. See the picture? See? The Levites, or the Kohanim as it is, basically face each other. They have to face inward. Kind of hard to walk that way, but that's what they have to do. V'achorim lachutz, ufnehem lifanim. They have to be facing the ark. By the way, why? Because God's presence, so to speak, is on top of the ark. This is still, yeah. Look, here's the picture. You could go see. That's how they have to do it. And that is hard to do. It's hard to do. By the way, it says how many Bnei Kahat were in the temple service back in the Mishkan? A few thousand, like 2,000 adult Levites were in charge of carrying basically the Ark of the Covenant, the 2 Mizbeachs, the Lechem upon him, the Shulchan, the Kior, and a few other things. So how many Leviim is that at once? At most 30. So that keeps swapping out, because the question is, who's carrying the Ark of the Covenant? It says they have to walk this way. Lo yasuru. Okay, they have to stay there. Now here the Rambam doesn't mention this, but your notes have it. I remember looking at the Sefer Mitzvos about this. Who is supposed to carry the Ark of the Covenant? Throughout the Torah, it's obviously the Bnei Levi. They're just not enough Kohanim. Don't forget, right at the beginning, you can imagine when the Mishkan was dedicated, a few months later they were traveling. There are not enough Kohanim in service. There are 3 Kohanim. That's not even enough to carry the ark. So let alone to do all these things. So it was given to their closest relatives, Bnei Kahat. And the bottom line, I think, is the best answer given, I think, by Minchas Chinuch and Sefer Chinuch. You can look in the notes here. I remember discussing this with people. It turns out that the Levim are all kosher to carry the Ark of the Covenant. And in the Bible, you see sometimes both. You see the Levim and the Kohanim. And it turns out, if you look very closely, Levim are the ones who are supposed to carry the Ark of the Covenant for the long haul. But anytime they put it back into the Kodesh Kodashim or take it out, that's the job of the Kohanim. Similar to what we find in Bamidbar. The first act was that the Bnei Aaron put the parochet over the ark without even looking. They pick up the parochet and they just walk toward it and cover it, and then they continue covering it, and then Levim can come and do it. And apparently they did the reverse when they had to set up the Mishkan. So too, when they brought the ark into the temple, the Kohanim were the ones who picked it up and put it actually in its place. Levim were the ones who took it, let's say from, don't forget, what was the ark's last traveling was David brought it to Jerusalem. Levim brought it there, and he put it in a special tent he had in Ir David. So that 8th of Tishrei, when they dedicated the temple, it was brought up the hill from Ir David to the Temple Mount by Levim and placed in the Azarah. And then at the dedication, the Kohanim themselves, they switch. Kohanim bring it into Kodesh Kodashim. And it makes more sense because only Kohanim are supposed to be entering the temple anyways. So to bring it in and out of the temple, use Kohanim. To bring it around, you use Levim.
We would like to encourage our viewers to share these videos with friends and send in your responses. If you would like to obtain Birkon Nusach Eretz Yisrael or invite the rabbi for a speaking engagement, please email us at office@machonshilo.org.